true to say that if we look down this budget, the greatest savings is on the 1.5% pay raise, which is $1.2 million. All the other cuts sort of pale in comparison to that. Is that not correct? I think that's correct. In other words, if you turn down the budget and the 1.5% pay raise, just looking at savings, that is the greatest way to save money.
Councilman Harper.
Yeah, I rise in support of, or don't rise as we sit here, but I support Councilman Didier's effort here on amending this budget. I offered the $1 million, or excuse me, the 1% pay raise as a compromise in order to gain majority support for final passage of the budget. I think the vote in committee bore out that need, and I think in the spirit Councilman Didier is proposing something that allows us to have savings that are significant, $459,000 as opposed to $149,000, which somewhat so insignificant I'm not sure it would be felt or appreciated by the taxpayers. And I'll support Councilman Didier.
Councilman Didier.
Yeah, I want to make a motion. You know, can I speak? Okay, from that standpoint. I mean, with it's late, 3 hours close already, and we need to get this budget passed. And you know, like anything, and good salesman, you gotta negotiate. And, you know, and sometimes in negotiations you win, sometimes you lose. And I'm not saying this is a win or loss, but from the vantage point that, you know, to get this budget moving in the right direction, I think Councilwoman Brown, you make a lot of good points. Councilman Pate, you make a lot of good points from the aspects of the 1.7 million that would cause an increase if we left the budget the same. I'm asking if we can make an amendment, motion to cut the 1.5%, which is 1%. I'd like to vote on that.
Second the motion.
Not including the firefighters.
Okay,
Second motion.
all right, so we have an
1.5.
amendment to 090930 is already amended, and that is to decrease the salary increase, which is currently proposed from 1.5% to only 1%. All in favor?
Could I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
Who's second? Was there a second?
Yes.
Joe seconded.
Would you like a roll call vote?
Councilman Binder. Councilman Binder.
Yes.
Yes. Councilwoman Brown.
No.
Councilman Didier.
Since the roll call vote, I'll make an explanation. I mean, I voted, I don't want the 1.5% raise, but from my vantage point, sounded like from what I could see that it was going to probably pass, possibly out of committee at 5-4. And I feel that it's necessary to say wherever we can from that vantage point. I appreciate the administration from the aspects of being able to hopefully diligently look at the money that's going to get appropriated because of this, and do it a little bit more on a merit system versus a across-the-board raise. I am personally not in favor of giving a raise, but to get this budget moving in the right direction, I feel I need to vote yes on the 1%.
Councilwoman Goldner. Councilman Harper.
Yes.
Councilman Hines.
No.
Councilman Pate.
Yes.
Councilman Schoaf.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
No.
And back to Councilwoman Goldner.
I understand the virtue of compromise, and but I just find this entire process indescribable, and I will vote no.
So what happened?
5-4 passes.
Passes.
Okay, so we now have the newly amended budget ordinance of 090930 as most recently amended.
It would be 6 times, yes.
6 times?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have 6 amendments to the original budget ordinance, and let me remind council This budget ordinance for the year 2010 will now include a 1% salary increase across the board, but for the firefighters union, which his contract has already been negotiated, they will receive 1.5%. And then we have 5 additional cuts that were voted on in committee that came out. That's the budget everyone's voting on now. So, I guess we're taking a roll call vote. All in favor of it in this budget?
Roll call.
Aye.
I mean,
Councilman Bender.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown.
no.
Councilman Didier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gollmer.
Pass.
Councilman Harford.
Yes.
Councilman Hines.
No.
Councilman Pape.
Perhaps the most surprising thing that occurred tonight was the number of council members who trust Mayor Henry and his government with $1.7 million more by relying on last year's budget for this year. Yes.
Councilman Shook.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
No.
And back to Councilwoman Gollmer.
I can't find a better word than indescribable. We have been talking for months about a balanced budget, a budget that was presented to us as balanced. Somebody made the comment that there's not winners and losers. There are in fact losers in this budget. And I would start with the 2 positions in the mayor's office and the 1 position in our office that were cut. And I would say without a great deal of what I would consider to be any sort of objective analysis of why those positions needed to be cut, or frankly why we couldn't afford to have those positions providing services to the city of Fort Wayne and to our citizens. We have apparently a willingness to, as Councilman Pape said a lot better than I did, or could, a willingness to allow the administration to have a bunch of money that's not really budgeted by adopting this year's ordinance. I certainly am not in favor of another $1.2 million into legal fees in the self-insurance fund, for instance, out of the unappropriated balance. And I would say another set of losers, frankly, are the FOP that has come to an agreement with the city in good faith with the 1.5% raise in it, that there's not going to be money in there to fund. And I think that there's some level of overall equity here that that I'm concerned about. I agree with the value of merit raises. One thing I will say, and it doesn't have anything to do with the budget, but it does have to do with the comments that was made at the table, is that we do have some union contracts that have merit raises. There's gain sharing, at least in one of the city utilities contracts that I'm aware of. So there is some, has been some effort toward that. The budget passes without my vote, which I was willing to vote for just to pass it, because to not pass it would be even, in my opinion, more foolish than to pass it. But I can't vote for this. I vote no.
Passes 5-4.